20 minutes. That's all it had been since I'd seen the text message that changed everything. 20 minutes to process betrayal, to swallow rage, to decide what kind of woman I was going to be in this moment. And now, here he was, dropping to one knee in front of Silicon Valley's elite, about to trap me in the most public declaration of love imaginable. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 28 years old. And this is the story of how I turned my picture-perfect engagement into the most catastrophic public humiliation of my ex-boyfriend's life. But to understand why I did what I did, you need to know how I got there. You need to know about Marcus Chen, the golden boy of tech, the man who could sell water to the ocean, the boyfriend who made every other woman jealous. You need to know how completely, utterly, and stupidly in love with him I was. We met at a charity gala for underprivileged kids wanting to learn coding. I was there representing my company's corporate giving program. Middle management, nothing fancy, but I believed in the cause. Marcus was there as a featured speaker, the success story everyone wanted to emulate. 32 years old, founder of 3 successful startups, featured on the cover of Tech Weekly, the American dream wrapped in a Tom Ford suit. I was at the bar, ordering a glass of white wine, when he appeared beside me. Not overtly hitting on me, just present. Magnetic. He ordered whiskey neat, then turned to me with this self-deprecating smile. "These things always make me nervous," he said. "All these people expecting brilliance. What if I just want to talk about my obsession with reality TV?" I laughed despite myself. "The great Marcus Chen watches reality TV. Religiously," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Love Island is my guilty pleasure. Don't tell my investors." That's how it started. A conversation about trash television with a man who could have talked to anyone in that room. But he chose me. For the rest of the night, he barely left my side. He introduced me to people as if I was someone important, remembered everything I told him, made me feel like the most fascinating woman in the world. When he asked for my number, I gave it without hesitation. When he texted the next morning, I smiled like a teenager. When he asked me out for coffee, that turned into dinner, that turned into walking the city until 2 a.m., I was already falling. Our first 6 months were a fairy tale. Not the cleaned-up Disney version, the real fairy tales, where the magic feels dangerous because it can't possibly last. Marcus pursued me with an intensity that should have scared me. Flowers delivered to my office. Surprise weekend trips to Napa, introducing me to his parents after just 3 months. My friends called it whirlwind. My mother called it fate. "He's different with you," his business partner James told me at a company party. "I've known Marcus for 5 years, and I've never seen him like this. You've domesticated the wild bachelor." I glowed with pride. I was the one who'd captured Marcus Chen. Me, Sarah from the suburbs, with my state school degree and my middle-class dreams. I'd won the lottery. Moving in together felt natural. His downtown loft was everything mine wasn't. Floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick, a kitchen that cost more than my annual salary. He gave me a key after 4 months. By month 6, half my clothes were in his walk-in closet. That's when things started to change. So slowly, I didn't notice at first. So carefully, I thought I was imagining it. The late nights at the office became more frequent. The weekend trips with clients I couldn't join. The phone calls he had to take privately. But every time doubt crept in, Marcus would do something spectacular. A surprise vacation to Hawaii. A necklace that cost 3 months of my rent. Instagram posts declaring his love to his 40,000 followers. "Sarah is the best thing that ever happened to me," he'd caption photos of us. "Blessed to have found my soulmate." The comments would pour in. Couple goals. "When's the wedding? You two are perfect." And we were perfect. In public, at events, on social media. We were the couple everyone wanted to be. Marcus with his success and charm. Me with my, what? I started to wonder what I brought to the relationship besides being pretty enough, smart enough, agreeable enough to not embarrass him. "You're being insecure," my best friend Jenna would say, when I voiced these concerns. "Marcus adores you. Look how he treats you." And she was right. The gestures were grand, the gifts were expensive, the social media declarations were constant. But lying next to him at night, I sometimes felt like a stranger in my own relationship, like I was playing a part in Marcus's carefully directed life. The proposal rumors started a year and a half in. Marcus would casually mention friends who'd gotten engaged. He'd stop at jewelry store windows when we walked through the city. Once, I caught him with my ring on his pinky, claiming he was just curious about my size. My mother was beside herself with anticipation. "After all the losers you've dated," she said during one of our weekly calls, "you finally found a keeper." "Don't screw this up, Sarah." The pressure mounted from all sides. "When's he going to propose? You're not getting any younger. Men like Marcus don't stay on the market forever." Even my gynecologist asked about my timeline for kids, as if Marcus's sperm was too precious to waste. I started to feel like I was waiting for my life to begin, like everything would make sense once that ring was on my finger. The nagging doubts, the loneliness I felt even when he was right beside me, the sense that I was performing rather than living. Surely it would all disappear once we were engaged. The Tech Innovators Gala was the event of the year in our world. Black tie, invitation only, the place where deals were made and careers were launched. Marcus had been preparing for weeks. His company was up for an award, and rumors swirled about a major acquisition. "You're going to love your dress," he told me the week before. I had it custom made. The dress was perfect. Of course it was. Emerald green, because he said it made my eyes pop. Fitted in all the right places. Expensive enough to make me nervous about sitting down. I looked like a trophy, and I hated how much I loved it. The day of the gala, I took off work early. Hair appointment, nail appointment, makeup artist coming to the loft. I was being transformed into the best possible version of myself, the version worthy of standing next to Marcus Chen. He was distracted when he came home to change, barely looked at me in the dress, just nodded and said I looked beautiful before disappearing into the shower. I told myself he was nervous about the award. The limo ride to the Fairmont was quiet. Marcus scrolled through his phone while I stared out the window, watching the city blur by. My stomach was in knots, though I couldn't say why. Intuition, maybe. Or just the Spanx. The ballroom was magnificent. Every tech luminary in the Bay Area was there, plus investors, politicians, and enough venture capital to fund a small country. Marcus immediately went into networking mode, and I followed, playing my part. The supportive girlfriend. Charming, but not too charming. Interested, but not too interested. I'd gotten good at walking that line. During cocktail hour, I noticed her. Tall, blonde, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my car. She kept looking at our table, then quickly away when I'd catch her eye. When Marcus excused himself to talk to an investor, she appeared at my side. "You must be Sarah," she said. Her smile was sharp as glass. "I'm Amber. I work with Marcus." I'd never heard of her, which was strange, because I thought I knew all of Marcus's colleagues. We made small talk for a minute before she touched my arm, leaned in close. "You're a lucky woman," she said. "Marcus talks about you all the time, says you're perfect, the perfect girlfriend." Something in the way she said it made my skin crawl. But before I could respond, she was gone, melting back into the crowd. Dinner was served. Marcus sat beside me, but he might as well have been in another country. He was texting constantly, barely touching his $60 salmon. When I asked if everything was okay, he just smiled and squeezed my hand. "Big night, babe. You understand." I understood. I always understood. Understanding was my primary function in this relationship. It was during the salad course that he excused himself to take a call, left his phone face up on the table, screen still lit, and that's when I saw it. The message was from Amber. "Can't wait for Tuesday." Same hotel? Followed by an emoji I won't describe in polite company. The world tilted. The chatter of 300 people became white noise. I stared at those words, my brain trying to process them into something innocent. A business meeting, a company event. Anything but what it obviously was. More messages appeared as I watched. I miss you already. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about what you did with that champagne. I was going to be sick. Right there at table 12, in front of Silicon Valley's finest. I was going to vomit $60 salmon onto the white tablecloth. But then something else took over. A calm I didn't know I possessed. A clarity that cut through the humiliation and rage. I picked up my phone and took a photo of his screen. Evidence. Then I set his phone back exactly as it was and took a sip of wine. Marcus returned just as the main course arrived. "Sorry about that," he said, immediately reaching for his phone. His face gave nothing away as he read the messages. Just slipped the phone into his pocket and resumed eating. I spent the rest of dinner in a surreal state, watching him work the room during breaks, listening to him charm our table mates, seeing him for what he really was, a performer, just like me. Only his performance was hurting people. The awards portion began. Marcus's company won their category, and he gave a gracious speech about innovation and disruption. The crowd loved him. They always did. And then it happened. The MC returned to the microphone with a conspiratorial smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special surprise tonight. One of our winners has something important to ask someone." The lights dimmed. Music swelled. Was that John Legend? A spotlight found our table. Marcus was already standing, microphone in hand. This wasn't just a proposal. This was a production. 2 years ago, he began, his voice echoing through the ballroom. I met the most incredible woman. Sarah Mitchell has been my rock, my inspiration, my reason for becoming a better man. The crowd made appropriate swooning noises. Phones came out. Someone was definitely filming this for YouTube. Marcus walked around the table toward me, never breaking eye contact. She supported my dreams, celebrated my successes, and stood by me through every challenge. She's made me believe in love in a way I never thought possible. I sat frozen, my mind racing. He'd planned this, every detail, the award ceremony timing, the lighting, the photographer I now noticed positioning himself for the perfect shot. This wasn't a proposal, it was a trap. A public spectacle designed to guarantee a yes. "Sarah," he continued, now standing directly in front of me, "you've shown me what partnership really means, what loyalty looks like, what trust feels like." The irony of that word, trust, almost made me laugh or scream, I wasn't sure which. He dropped to one knee. The ring box appeared like a magic trick. The diamond was enormous, catching the light like a small star. The crowd gasped appreciatively. "Sarah Michelle Mitchell, will you marry me?" 300 people held their breath. In the silence, I could hear my heart pounding. This was my moment, my chance to say yes and preserve the fairy tale, to slip that ring on my finger and pretend I hadn't seen those messages, to choose the easy path. I thought about my mother, probably already planning the wedding. I thought about my friends, who would squeal over the ring. I thought about the life I'd planned with this man, the house in Palo Alto, the kids with his smile, the happily ever after I'd been promised. Then I thought about Amber, about Tuesday, about that hotel. I stood up slowly, took the microphone from Marcus's hand. He smiled, probably thinking I was going to say something romantic. The audience leaned forward in anticipation. Before I answer, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "I have something to share with everyone here tonight." Marcus's smile flickered, just for a second, but he stayed on one knee, committed to the performance. You see, 20 minutes ago, I happened to see a message on Marcus's phone, from a colleague named Amber. Would anyone like to know what it said? The silence was deafening. Marcus started to stand, his face draining of color. "Sarah, what are you—" I stepped back, keeping the microphone. The message said, "Can't wait for Tuesday. Same hotel?" There were other messages too, about last night, about champagne. Should I continue? The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, nervous laughter. Someone dropped a glass. The photographer kept shooting, probably realizing he was capturing something even more valuable than an engagement. Marcus found his voice. This is a misunderstanding. Amber is just, we work together. This is nothing. Sarah, please, let's discuss this privately. I laughed. Actually laughed into the microphone. Privately, like how you've been meeting her privately. Like those private business trips to Miami while telling me you were in Seattle. Like the private credit card you've been using to buy jewelry I've never seen. The crowd was in full scandal mode now. Phones were out, recording every second. Someone was definitely live tweeting this. You want to talk about partnership? I continued, warming to my theme. Let's talk about the partnership where I supported your dreams while you destroyed mine. Where I celebrated your successes while you lied to my face. Where I showed you trust while you showed me what a fool I've been. Security was moving toward us now, probably called by the mortified MC. But I wasn't done. So to answer your question, Marcus Chen, no, I will not marry you. I won't marry a liar, a cheater, a man who thinks he can buy forgiveness with a big enough diamond. But thank you for this public proposal. You've given me the opportunity to publicly decline. I set the microphone gently on the table, looked at the ring one more time. It really was beautiful. Then I picked up my clutch and walked out, my heels clicking on the marble floor, my head held high despite the tears I could feel coming. The last thing I heard was Marcus's voice, no longer smooth, no longer charming. Sarah, wait, you don't understand. This isn't what it looks like. But I kept walking, through the ballroom doors, through the lobby, out into the cool San Francisco night, where I could finally breathe. My phone started buzzing before I even reached the street. Jenna, my mother, numbers I didn't recognize. The video was already spreading. By the time I got home, to my old apartment, thank God I'd never given it up. It had been shared thousands of times. Woman rejects cheating boyfriend's proposal in front of 300 people. Tech CEO's engagement disaster goes viral. She found out he was cheating minutes before he proposed. The headlines wrote themselves. The internet had its new hero or villain, depending on who you asked. Marcus's PR team went into overdrive, but the damage was done. Screenshots of him with Amber at various events started surfacing. Former employees shared stories of inappropriate behavior. The acquisition he'd been counting on fell through. But the most interesting messages came from other women. Dozens of them. Some who knew Marcus, some who didn't. All sharing their stories of betrayal, of public humiliation, of wishes that they'd had the courage to do what I did. One message stood out. It was from Elena, Marcus's ex before me. The one he'd said was crazy, jealous, unstable. Thank you, she wrote. He did the same thing to me. Made me think I was paranoid when I suspected. Gaslit me until I believed I was the problem. You did what I wish I'd done. You told the truth. We met for coffee a week later. She was beautiful, successful, and absolutely not crazy. She told me about their relationship, how it followed the same pattern as mine, the love bombing, the gradual isolation, the cheating that started 6 months in. There were others, she said. Before me, after me. You're not the first, but maybe you'll be the last. We found 3 more women, all successful, smart, accomplished. All taken in by the same charm, the same lies. We started a group chat. Dark humor got us through the worst days. We called ourselves survivors because that's what we were. Marcus tried everything. Flowers delivered to my office. I donated them to a nursing home. Emails explaining how it wasn't what it looked like. I forwarded them to my lawyer. Even showed up at my apartment once, with tears in his eyes and promises of change. I could have let you say yes, I told him through the door. Could have trapped you in an engagement before you found out. But I wanted everyone to know what you really are. You ruined my life, he said. My reputation, my company, everything. No, I replied. You ruined your life. I just refused to let you ruin mine. The ring? He never asked for it back. I sold it and donated the money to a women's shelter. Felt like the right thing to do with a symbol of fake love. 6 months later, I was in a coffee shop when he walked in. He looked older, tired. The startup had folded after investors pulled out. He was consulting now, he said. living in a studio apartment in Oakland. Why, he asked. Why did you have to do it so publicly? I thought about lying, saying it was the heat of the moment, that I wasn't thinking clearly. But he deserved the truth, even if he'd never given it to me. Because you were going to use public pressure to force me to say yes. You knew I'd be too embarrassed to refuse in front of all those people. You counted on my politeness to save you. But I decided my dignity was worth more than your reputation. He left without ordering coffee. I'm dating again now, slowly, carefully. Trust is hard to rebuild, but not impossible. I look for different things now. Consistency over grand gestures. Private affection over public displays. Someone who loves me when no one's watching. The video is still out there. Every few months it resurfaces, usually with captions like, "Remember this queen?" or "This is how you handle a cheater." I've been invited on podcasts, offered book deals, asked to speak at women's empowerment events. I've said no to all of it. That night wasn't about becoming famous. It was about becoming free. Sometimes I think about the life I almost had. The house in Palo Alto. The kids with Marcus's smile. The Instagram perfect existence built on lies. And I'm grateful. Grateful for that text message. Grateful for my moment of courage. Grateful I chose truth over comfort. My mother took the longest to come around. She'd already mentally planned my wedding, picked out her outfit, imagined her grandchildren. But even she eventually admitted I'd done the right thing. Better to find out before the wedding, she said. Though did you have to do it so dramatically? Yes, Mom, I really did. Because here's what I learned that night at the Fairmont. Sometimes the most romantic thing you can do is refuse to be romanced by a lie. Sometimes love means loving yourself enough to walk away. Sometimes the best proposals are the ones you decline. The spotlight that found me that night illuminated more than just a proposal. It showed me who I really was when tested. Not the perfect girlfriend. Not the supporting character in someone else's story. Just Sarah Mitchell, standing up for herself in front of 300 strangers, and one man who never really knew her at all. That's a proposal I accept every single day.